Okay. So to start from the beginning, that this project is called Logical Bayaan, and this is based on the class logical progression and the platform Bayaan. So the problem we're trying to solve here is the class logical progression goes on for a number of weeks in the academic year, and we are currently on year 14. So the goal here is after the class, there's a transcript, and then there's a team of volunteers who work on the transcript, who edit, who refine, who publish it. So this is basically the workflow of from the class to getting the class material published. It takes a lot of hours to get complete. So part of the goal here is to automate this process that we can reduce the amount of time it takes to uh, do this challenging task, uh, and basically just let the volunteers do the last mile work. So part of the challenge here is that this is a multilingual class in English and Arabic. So there is a two-part problem here. There's a problem from the audio itself that's getting a high quality transcript. So earlier in the early years of the class, the volunteers usually have to manually transcribe, and they have to do this over and over and over again to get something high quality. So this old problem has been solved, at least manually for now, where we're able to generate a high quality transcript. So the way it's currently, where we are right now is we are able to generate high quality transcript, but we're not using captions. And part of the reason is that captions are not good enough, and it's better to do it manually than to use captions. So captions is not going to work. That's why we are not considering it. So to get the high quality transcript, we currently use a speech recognition model called OpenAI Whisper, and we're using the light version, the biggest version, because it's the one that gets us the best result. Um, and since this is a big model, running it locally is intensive, and since we're trying to automate here, we found a practical solution in using Grok uh, that provides it, reasonably affordable while also being fast, which is something important. That is fast, and also we can keep the cost low. So now we've, by God's grace, solved an old problem of the manual transcription. Next comes the other problem of editing and refinement. So over the years, the team lead, who is also the chief editor, has trained a lot of the volunteers. So we have a knowledge base of materials scattered around, and from the training materials, from the feedbacks, and also from the completed um, materials. So those are data that we would try to leverage from to automate this process as well. So when we're able to get high quality transcripts in an automated fashion, and we're able to a good extent refine it, then the volunteers just have to spend time doing the last mile effort of cleaning it up and making sure that all the issues there are resolved. So, and of course, compute cost. And part of the goal with this project is that we want to build a system that is cost efficient, that we can run on a budget. Um, so for the solution, again, the goal is to automate this process from a lot of hours to, it takes about 1 to 2 weeks, and make that into at least something we can get done within a week, hopefully. And by the end of this academic year, we have a working platform. Um, so one of the things that we have going for us right now is that some of these problems, like I said, have been resolved to an extent that we can manually generate high quality transcripts. And to some good extent, we are able to refine it to a good extent that the volunteers can take it from. Um, so a lot of what we're trying to do now is we want to do it in an automated way. That when the class is done, the transcript is auto-generated, and it is, it is placed in the editing platform that the volunteers can collaborate on. Um, So part of the job here is that, like I said, to automate this process. And part of this also is to undo the scheduling and task management. So this is also part of the workflow. We currently use Excel sheets, and the goal here is to migrate a good number of that task onto the platform. And one aspect that I think is also going to be important is the editing tool. The goal here is we want to allow the volunteers to edit on the platform itself. Um, so this is phase two. This is for later. So the way this project works right now is we have, this is the LP for short, the logical progression group. You have the transcribing team, the referencing team, and this team is the AI team. The goal of the AI team is basically, like I said, is basically what I've described here. Um, so the team structure right now is you have a lead who is also the chief editor who manages the project and provides guidelines for the week in terms of letting the supervisor know what to keep and what not to keep, what to skip in the class, among other details that's provided. So a lot of these details are something that can be fetched from the class audio or transcript. Uh, but this is something that with LLMs we have to be careful for. So this is something that would gradually do over time and get to a good baseline before the end of the academic year. And then you have the supervisor who guide us and create the material for the week. And you have the transcribing team, the referencing team, and the publishing team. Um, so for this project, the roles that I have broken down so far are so this can be individual or can be a sub team as well. Um, so you have the audio team. So this is mostly going to be a backend that will be in charge of getting the YouTube URL and providing the transcript. And some of this work is already being done here. So this is the code base for the application. So here, this particular file uses a combination of FFmpeg to chunk the audio and Gemini to get the transcript. So there are different versions here of Gemini as a transcriber and Grok as a transcriber. So to give you an idea of, I'll just show you two types of text here. Okay, so this is what I'm trying to say. So Grok, when you use the caption, you won't get this level of details. But Grok allows us to get so you can see this is the transliteration I'm talking about, but this is not the final version of it. So I'm able to get the English text and the Arabic text. So this is why I'm using the Whisper Large as a first step. So the other aspect is what is generated. Um, so if you compare what you just saw with this, you can see that there are some differences here. You can see the diacritics here, and this is the part that we want to automate basically. So this is just to give you an idea that some of these aspects are already done, but in a manual process. And the goal with this project is to bring it all together in a automated way that we can get the URL and the backend system can just go from the URL all the way to generating a transcript that can go on the editing tool. So this is one aspect of it, the audio AI. The other aspect, which is a bit more technical, and I think it's more of an AI research role, is the transliteration. And the goal of translation, like I showed here, is so basically, we use a combination right now. Mostly we use a state-of-the-art LLM to go from what I just showed from this transcript here. So you can see the difference with this one and the one I just showed now, which is this one. So you can see the difference, basically. So this is what the transliterate AI part is about. The ideal scenario for me is, I'm hoping like in a year or two, that we are able to just give an LM an audio, and we are able to get the final version just like that without having to go through this medium step. But it's a complex problem because we cannot guarantee that we are still going to get the Arabic uh, and things like that. So it's not a simple problem. So back to this is for this particular task, we want to try to optimize for cost and performance because right now we can use the state of the art, in this case 2.5 Pro. This is September 2025. Um, so this one gets us somewhere. Manually, I use Cloud Code for this to generate this transcript. But since we want to automate this process, basically it's going to be like 2.5 Pro. So the job here for this first phase is two parts. The first part is to, based on the data, where I'm gathering data, creating data, improving the quality, so that we can fine-tune a small language model. In this case, I've chosen Gemma, and I'm, based on who's taking on this role, you can decide to use any other small language models, but ideally anything 3 billion or below. Um, because again, we're trying to optimize for cost. So the goal with this small language model is we want to try to get to 70% baseline of what we get from the state-of-the-art language model. So this is optimistic, but I think is realistic. The second part is this LLM Lite, basically a smaller version of state-of-the-art models. Um, and this is, in my opinion, most likely what is going to power the application by the end of the MVP. Um, the goal is I want to start with this so that by year two, we can move this forward to close the gap. But in terms of the application, our goal is that by the beginning of the year, we are using 2.5 Pro. By end of the year, we are using Flashlight or any of this other language model. And the technique that I'm trying to employ for this is optimization of distilling the knowledge or distilling the capability of this state-of-the-art model into this smaller model. So I'm hoping to use DSPY for that. And once we've assigned the roles, this is something I can go in depth on. But ideally, what I'm trying to get to by end of the second year is I want to get to this SLMs, because then we can run this on device and have zero cost. So no API calls or hosting models. So this is ideal scenario that I want to get to. But realistically, this is the aim to reduce the cost um, from the beginning of the year to end of the year, basically, and make sure the baseline I'm setting for now is 85%. I am confident we can surpass this. So in terms of the other roles here, besides the audio and the transliteration, the other role is just general application development, API, front-end, back-end, database. Um, so right now, my goal is to deploy this on Cloudflare and using React and Cloudflare Worker, but also leaving the option open to deploy on VPS. And the other roles that I think is also important is testing. Since there's a lot of moving parts here, we would be needing to do a lot of testing on all of this. So in terms of the timeline, there's the baseline timeline I have for this project, which is to have a functional MVP by December. But ideally, I'm leaving this as by end of the class to have you know uh, the MVP done by then. And my goal is that I want something functional. I want to get a functional level by this. So we're spending the rest of early next year getting it into better performance in general. Um, so yeah, I'll stop here for now. Do you have any questions?
Yes, I do.